The scent of lavender and lemon polish still hung in the air, a testament to Tiffany's obsessive cleaning spree. She'd been like that lately, a whirlwind of domesticity after months of, well, I hadn't been sure what it was. Like she was trying to bury something under a mountain of spotless surfaces and perfectly folded laundry. That Sunday, she decided the living room needed a new focal point. A large framed photo perched precariously on the mantel, a shrine to her work family, as she called it. I'd always found her enthusiasm for her colleagues a little cloying, bordering on performative. The photo itself was typical office fare. 4 smiles, awkward poses, a sea of corporate anonymity. But Tiffany beamed at it, her eyes shining like she'd just unveiled a masterpiece. "They the best team, Jackson," she declared, a touch too loudly and too quickly. "I'm so lucky to work with such a great group of people." My gaze scanned the image mostly out of politeness. There was Brenda, the perpetually stressed marketing manager, and David, the IT guy who looked like he hadn't slept in a week. Then there was him, a man I didn't recognize, standing a little too close to Tiffany, his hand almost but not quite touching her shoulder. He was taller than the rest, with a rakish grin and eyes that seemed to bore straight through the glossy print. A name tag, slightly blurred. Aaron. "Who's that?" I asked, pointing with my finger, my voice casual, conversational. The smile faltered on Tiffany's face like someone had flicked off a light switch. Her laughter, which had been bubbling just seconds before, died in her throat. The air in the room seemed to thicken, the playful energy vanishing like smoke in the wind. She looked at me, her eyes wide and her jaw slack, as if I'd suddenly spoken a foreign language. "Zane," she finally managed, her voice a brittle whisper. He's new. Just started a few weeks ago." A few weeks ago. That was about the time her late nights at the office had become a regular thing. The time she'd started pulling away. The time I'd started sleeping on the edge of the bed, trying not to disturb her slumber, a slumber that felt as distant as the moon. My heart, which had been beating steadily just moments before, suddenly felt like a lead weight in my chest. A cold, hard dread began to claw its way up my throat. It wasn't the fact that she was lying to me. It was the way she was lying that made the blood in my veins turn to ice. The picture stayed there, mocking me, for another week. I'd catch Tiffany staring at it, a wistful expression on her face. She touched the frame like it was a precious artifact, her eyes lingering a second too long on Zane's face. That's when the plan started forming, a dark and twisted seed taking root in my mind. I'd always been a quiet, easygoing guy. I avoided confrontation, preferring to bury my feelings. But this was different. This was a betrayal that cut deep, deeper than anything I could have imagined. I started subtly. I'd ask about Zane from work in an offhand manner, gauging her reaction. Each time, she'd flinch, her face a mask of carefully constructed indifference. I found his LinkedIn profile. Zane Carter, a rising star. He was a sales director. Charming. Successful. The kind of guy who knew he was good-looking and used it to his advantage. I memorized his face, his details, his online persona. I was becoming obsessed. Then I found it. A message buried deep within her deleted WhatsApp messages. A single text. "Can't wait until tonight." My hand was shaking when I found it. My fingers trembling not with anger, but with something deeper, something that felt like a total eclipse of my soul. The weight of it all crushed me, but at the same time fueled a resolve, a thirst for vengeance. My plan was simple. I wouldn't confront Tiffany. Not yet. I wanted to make Zane pay first, to shatter the arrogant world he built for himself. I tracked his schedule from her phone, figured out his usual gym routine. I joined that gym, got to know him in passing. We talked about work, about sales, about casual things. He seemed like an empty shell of a man, a walking cliché. The day I decided was a Tuesday, a few weeks after I discovered the text. It was raining heavily, the kind of downpour that seemed to mirror the storm raging inside me. Zane was leaving the gym, his face flushed and his hair damp. I intercepted him by his car. "Zane, right?" I asked, trying to keep my voice calm, a mask of false friendliness in my eyes. He looked at me, a flicker of recognition in his eyes. "Yeah, you're Jackson, right? Tiffany's husband?" That's right, I said, and then, without another word, I punched him. The force of the blow sent him reeling, his face contorting in a mask of shock and pain. He landed on the wet pavement, gasping. He looked at me in horror. What the hell? I grabbed him by his shirt, hoisting him up, my own rage now bubbling to the surface. You and my wife, I spat. You pathetic, spineless excuse of man. The quiet, introverted Jackson was gone. The man who looked back at me for his own reflection was now consumed by fury. He struggled, trying to push me away, but I was relentless. Another punch connected with his jaw. He staggered back again, this time colliding with his car. I didn't care that the rain was soaking us or that other people were staring. I was consumed by the need to break him. I slammed him against the car again, the metal shuddering under the impact. I rained blows on him, each one fueled by the months of betrayal. The nights I spent awake wondering what had become of my life. I didn't care about Tiffany anymore. Not really. This wasn't about her. This was about him, about the violation of trust, the smug satisfaction on his face whenever he was around me. By the time I finished, he was a mess. Blood trickled from his nose, his lip was split, and his eyes were wide with terror. I towered over him, panting, my own knuckles throbbing. Stay away from her, I said, my voice low and menacing. Stay away from my life. Then I walked away, leaving him crumpled on the ground, the rain washing away his shame. The next day, I walked into Tiffany's office during her lunch break. I hadn't spoken to her since the confrontation with Zane. Not a word. She looked up from her computer, her eyes wide with a mix of fear and guilt. You know, don't you? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. I simply nodded. I didn't want to hear her excuses, her lies. I grabbed the framed photo from her desk, the one she was so proud of, the one with Zane in it. I smashed it against the edge of her desk, the glass shattering into 1,000 pieces, sending shards everywhere. The picture fell out, ripped, Zane's face torn and crumpled. I'm done, Tiffany, I said, my voice cold and hard. I'm moving out. You can have your perfect work life. Just leave me alone. I dropped the broken frame on the floor and walked out of the office without looking back. That night, I packed a bag, taking only the essentials. I found a small apartment on the other side of town, a clean slate. I'd lost Tiffany, yes, but I'd also gained something, a strange sense of peace. The weight that had been crushing me had lifted, replaced by a quiet resolve. I had confronted my demons. I had taken my revenge. I might be alone now, but I was also free. I was free from her lies, free from Zane's smug grin. I was finally free to rebuild my life, piece by piece, without the shadow of her deception. And in a strange way, that was enough. Enough